My name is Kelsey Taylor, and I'm the Splunk account manager that serves public sector customers in Southern California. And it's been my pleasure to work in the public sector for 32 years. I come from a family of public servants. I'm the one deviant in the family that went into technology. So I'm the family designated technologist and has to kind of translate to my family how technology can really help them do their jobs better. So it's been Splunk's pleasure to partner with LA World Airports for 5 years now. We started working with them initially with their security operations team, and in May of this year, phase 1 of their IT service initiative went live, and that's what we're going to talk to you all about today. So I'm going to introduce our speakers. First, Shala Delazadeh is the director of LAWA's ITSM initiative. Okay. And so Shala has responsibility for developing and improving all of the IT processes with the goal of enhancing IT operations, systems availability, and service delivery. Shala's been working in this area for over 30 years. Prior to her role as director of LAWA's ITSM office, she had responsibility for data center operations. Prior to that, she worked for the City of Los Angeles Information Technology Agency and had the tough job of supporting the mayor, the controller, and the city attorney. So Shala is accustomed to having tough customers and having to deliver. Also joining us is Mike Friedhoff, and he's director and lead architect with Wipro Ltd. And Mike leads the architect team, and he's our partner that worked with LAWA to do the ITSI implementation in addition to their ITSM project. So before I turn the mic over, I'm curious, how many of you have flown through LAX? Wow, okay, that's almost the entire room. And I'm looking at your faces to see if you are smiling or scowling. Because it, is a exercise in patience when you try and get through LAX and get to your departure terminal. The good news is that LAWA's executives are very concerned about passenger experience, and they have a major initiative to impact that. And so Shala is going to be talking more about that. LAWA is going through a significant infrastructure transformation project, and Splunk is partnering with them on their digital transformation. And in the keynotes on Tuesday and on yesterday, Splunk's strategy, data to everything, really can impact passenger experience. So we're really looking forward to this journey with LAWA, with this project as the first step in that direction. So Shala and Mike will walk you through their journey, lessons learned for the wrap-up.
Thank you, Kelsey. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time joining us this afternoon. As Kelsey said, I have 30 years experience in IT industry. And when I started my career, the cool things were LAN system and novel network. I don't know how many of you guys remember those things. But it has fast forward coming today. We are talking about serverless applications, AI ops, and predictive analytics, machine learning. It has been a fantastic journey, and I'm very excited to be here and share with you guys some of the things that we did with implementing Splunk ITSI and integrating it with our IT service management tool. Before I go to the solution, I just want to share some information for Los Angeles World Airports. I saw that lots of you guys have traveled through our airport, and as you guys see, we are saying airports because we have two airports. We have LAX and Van Nuys Airport that is in San Fernando Valley, and Van Nuys Airport is more non-commercial airport for us, and is one of the busiest general aviation airport. LAX, that you guys are more familiar with, is the third busiest airport in the world and the second in the US. And last year we had the pleasure of having about 88 million passengers either come to our airport or their start journey from our airport. We are going through a major transformation to provide the gold standard airport that our passengers need and deserve, and we're going through lots of modernization. So to get it ready for Olympic 2028. So we are excited about that. Talking about the transformation, our airport, like lots of other airports in the US, was built for a different era. We still have our passengers coming to curb near the terminal to get to they start their journey. We are in process of, and some of our passengers, I think you guys travel through us, you know that the last 3 miles of your journey to get to the terminal may take almost up to an hour. So we are trying to improve that. We are trying to create a facility that the passenger get drop off there, and there is more public access to metro and buses to take people around Los Angeles, and create a people mover that take passengers about 2.5 miles away from airport for 5 minutes, take them to their terminals. And we are also working on consolidating all of the car rental facilities in the place close to our people mover. And at the same time, we are doing modernization of all of our terminals. Some of you guys have seen some of our terminals that are older, and we are improving our concessions. So we are going through a lot of construction work to make our airport better. This work, our executive and our leadership see IT as a main component of this transformation. We're not focusing only on building stuff, but all of these buildings have IT components behind them that has to come online, and also make the infrastructure underline. We are working on lots of changes on that. So we are going to a lot of digital transformation. Our customers, are used to getting things from Amazon the next day that they order it. They get the Uber as soon as they get picked up by Uber as soon as they request for something. So they expect the same service from us, and we are working on delivering that service for them. Last year, we were nominated as the 10th most improved airport in US. So with all of this transformation, while we are in the full operation mode, there are lots of things that we have to keep in mind. It's the changes that happen on our jobs daily, not only from the construction side, but from IT side, because we are building all of these new systems, changing our infrastructure, and all of that requires a lot of attention to the changes that are happening into the company and give us visibility. And a lot of planning. For example, I mentioned that we are working on modernizing our terminals. We cannot just, close some of our gates, do the construction and open the gates, because we cannot service the 88 million people that travel to us. So to even do that, we had to plan much more in advance for years to create another concession area that in few months is going to go live, to give the capability to transfer the airlines to that area and passengers go to that area, so we can make some construction and modification that we need in the terminal that we are working on. For IT, it's the same thing. We have to plan things much more ahead of time and give ourselves a lot of visibility. And our passengers, they don't care that we are under transformation. If they come to our airport and they don't have Wi-Fi, they are not happy. They need to be able to be connected, do their work while they're waiting to get to their plane. They don't stay too long in our security line. So we still need to provide them the service that they need, and we still need to do all the modification that we need to make improvements. The other area is that we like many of the other organizations, we have groups that have tools that they are using by themselves. It's we have network team that has visibility to all of the network alerts. We have the server team that has visibility to all of their server stuff. We have DBAs look at their own stuff. So application team has visibility to the only application that they have. So we have lots of silos. And that creates a little bit harder for us when some incident happen to resolve it, because it has to go to the stages, sequential stages to troubleshoot, rather than everybody have visibility at one point. So we had to come up with a solution to solve this problem. The first choice was that do nothing, keep our existing ITSM tool and try to just change some processes and see what happened. But that didn't work well for us, because we've been at that situation for a while. And we needed to make an improvement. Our old ITSM tool was implemented 10 years ago. It was very hard to do good reports out of it. It was hard to do enhancement. Bringing the data alerts from different monitoring tools was very, very hard. So that wasn't a choice that we can take. So we looked at for a new ITSM tool, and we decided to take one of the best ones in the market. And the tool had ITOM module in it as well. But we started this work in 2018. And at that time, the ITOM module that they had was not mature enough for us. It had capability of getting alerts and creating incident for us, but we wanted to bring our log file, and we wanted to correlate the log file with the incident, and we were not getting the result. We thought that we were not getting the result that we want. And so we look at more solutions. And we also wanted to have a solution that we don't just use for one purpose. We wanted to have capability to bring all of our data in one place and have visibility for everything, different use cases in one place, rather than going with the silos again. And we have the silo on our ITSM tool, and we have other areas that they get their own data. So we wanted to consolidate all of that. So we were looking for a tool that helped us with that. So we started looking at Splunk ITSI, and what we liked about it was that out of the box, there was add-on to connect to our ITSM system. So we were very happy. We didn't need to do too much of customization, and it was an easy integration. So, then it also helped us to bring the log files and the alerts from all of our monitoring system in one place and correlate them and help us to understand what's going on in our infrastructure faster and easier. At the same time, for us it was important. We invested a lot of time to create our CMDBs on our ITSM system based on business services that we are providing. And we associated all different infrastructure and applications that associated with that business service to under that business service. So if something happened, we would know that this business group is going to be impacted and who we need to communicate to and everything else. So the Splunk give us capability to bring the data from our CMDB to Splunk. So on our glass tables that we were creating, we could present the same thing, that if there is outage happening, where it is, and which one of the components are causing this outage. The part for, and also for our changes, as I said, change was very important thing for us. So we had the capability of integrating and bringing we are doing our change management through our ITSM tool. So it gave us the capability that as we were approving the changes, it created a maintenance window on the CIs that we had in ServiceNow. So at that time, that CI would go to the maintenance mode, so it doesn't create any incident because people are working on the tools. So it wouldn't create any incident at that time. However, all of the data, it's still there. So as you guys know, majority of time that we have outages or incident, if we consider hardware failure, put hardware failure aside and human error aside, most of the time it's because of the changes that we are doing. So that would give us more focus way of seeing that, so what have caused this, and so we would have a specific time frame to look at and find out that what's going on. As I said, the Splunk allows us to bring log files, in one place and give us the better search capability. And of course, predictive analytics of Splunk is very important for us as well. And we are not in that maturity level yet, but that was a factor that was important in selection of the tool itself. So let's talk about the solution itself. As I said, we had different monitoring tools. So we sampled a few of them, the server management, network management, and virtualization. And we brought all of the events, alerts, and traps from these monitoring tools to Splunk Enterprise and Splunk ITSI. And from there, based on, I explained that there were add-ons for our virtual servers. There is an add-on on the Splunk side. So we use that add-on and our ITSM tool add-on to kind of bring these alerts and make them meaningful alerts for us, that we can create some sort of incident based on the parameters that we decide on. By that connectivity, when we identify, as you guys know, usually monitoring tools have lots of noise. When we implemented, we worked on the solution and tried to implement this, which was February of 2019. On our dev environment, as we were configuring, the first day we got 5,000 incidents happened on for our network device. And sometimes you have network devices that are flapping and constantly sending you messages. So, but the network team sometimes ignore them because there are so many of them. However, we talked to our network team, and they said that, you know what, if it happens in this period of time, it happened 50 times, let us know, because that's important for us. So we kind of were able to make it meaningful for them rather than keep getting all of these alerts coming to them, make it more meaningful that this one is important, look at it and do something about it. The same thing with all of our other admins. So it was a collaboration working with different admins and bringing that data that is meaningful for them to do some sort of action. And at the same time, they had the opportunity to tell us that what priority they want to give to this, because some of the things maybe are priority 3. It's not needed to be immediately done, and some of them are higher priority. And after hours, it was important for them because they didn't want to wake up and work on something is the priority 3 versus the priority 1 that they had to do immediately. So as I mentioned, this reduced the event storm, increased our employees' productivity because they didn't have to look at so many alerts, and they would spend their time more effectively. They become more proactive. And an example of that is, I'm going to pick on our network team again. We had one time one of the switches on one of our terminal failed. And so they put an emergency change to roll over to the secondary switch. And however, after they planned for that and look at it, they saw that there's an issue with the secondary as well. So before they go to the change and fail over and learn that, oh, it's not working, they had the visibility of seeing that there's something wrong with the second one as well. So they changed their plans to do this in different way that brings the system up faster. So they didn't have to troubleshoot while they are doing the work. It's also, as the issues come, the visibility that they have, it reduces the time to the resolution for incidents that are happening. So I'm going to let Mike to tell you guys how.
So I'm Mike Friedhoff. I'm with Wipro, and we're LAWA's partner implementation of both Splunk ITSI as well as the ITSM system, which I guess now you've let the cat in the bag. We can say it's ServiceNow. There's a lot of redacted material in here in terms of the actual tools involved, because being in airport, LAWA is extremely security conscious, which I'm sure you'll all agree is a good thing since we're probably all flying home soon. And so the integration with ServiceNow, there are certain key pathways that we incorporated into this. The foundation of it is based on your normal standard ServiceNow add-on that just lets you ingest any table from ServiceNow into Splunk. And one of the beautiful things about that is that the CMDB in ServiceNow and the relationships in that CMDB, they're just tables in ServiceNow that you can use that TA to ingest just like any other data. So ITSI has a capability where you can define a search against that data and automatically generate services and service relationships, and then also the membership of entities in those services, which is extremely powerful, because even though on the first iteration, we weren't even introducing anything that was specifically app monitoring. We're still just monitoring infrastructure. But by virtue of doing this and tying the entities to the application services and those service hierarchies, immediately you start having that application context of your monitoring. So you see something, a server lights up, and you'll see the impact on the application, on the business servers, all the way up the chain. So that was one important aspect of it. Another piece that we did, which is not a standard part of the ServiceNow TA, is that we also implemented maintenance windows, and actually not just at the business service level, but also at the server level automatically, so that in the ITSM system, if we have an approved change request and there's a defined start and end time for the window for that change, as soon as it's approved, we're automatically initiating or for that window, we're automatically setting up for that window in ITSI that there's a known maintenance window for that entity or for that application, so that during that time, if they have to reboot the server or something like that, you're not getting flooded with false alerts. And then, of course, an important aspect of this as well is that this pathway going in the other direction is also used for ITSI to initiate incidents into ServiceNow. And so all the details that come with what's called an episode in ITSI, that's going into ServiceNow as an incident. One important aspect of this, because having a holistic view, we also, Wipro as a company also runs operations for customers. So we think in operating models, and that's very important to us, is that you fire off the ticket. There's a lot of teams where their operating model is, I look at my ticket, I solve the ticket, I'm done. And they may not look in any other tools. So they may get a file system alert that says the file system is high or the CPU is high. And all they do is they log into the server and they say, well, it's okay now, my work here is done, resolved. It's really important to train people to use that little button in the ServiceNow incident, that's the integration back into the ITSI interface, because there's a huge amount of value-add information there in terms of the timeline of when the event began and if it was consistent or persistent throughout the time. There's also time history of the metric over time, so you'll be able to see, well, it may have just dropped now, but it was, it was peaked for a long time, or maybe it was cyclical, and this is something we need to look into. And also application impacts, right? You may also need to, from an operating model standpoint, be cognizant of the fact that, well, this may have cleared, but I may need to talk to someone about, communicating some kind of application impact that was associated with this. So there's a lot more value add that goes on into there, and it's worth making sure that you cover those bases. Another aspect of this is in the table here. By the way, how many folks here actually run ITSI today? Okay, quite a good number. So an important aspect of pulling your CMDB info from ServiceNow or any CMDB into ITSI is having a really good understanding of how are your applications laid out and tiered in terms of the relationships in your CMDB. Because it's very easy to just pull in a table, but you may have, for instance, a top tier of business services that you have multiple applications aggregated under. You may actually have sub-applications under your applications. So there could be a series of layers before you get to the point where you're actually dealing with relationships to servers or other technical CIs. And so you really need to work with your ITSM tool people to make sure you understand that data model clearly and have a very clear mapping of how you want to represent that in ITSI in that hierarchy. And you'll see some of those views in a couple more slides as Shala moves through this. So Shala, you want to pick it up?
Microphone? So we wanted to not only use this tool for our admins to have better visibility, but we also wanted to give visibility to our CIO and our deputy executives that are responsible for different type of services in the airport. So we created a dashboard that separates our IT services that are more infrastructure-based, our wireless, our data center facility, email, things like that. We put them, you would see them on the right side of this slide, and all of the business services on left side. So when there is you see 3 icons under each one of these blocks, and the icon that is on the first icon on the right, that is kind of like a head of somebody, it's the information that we are getting from our ITSM tool coming for priority 1 incidents. And the icon next to it is the major incidents. Any major incidents, that information comes from our IT service management tool as well. The last icon is giving more in-depth information about the business service has lots of different applications that business service it's associated with. So on all those applications, there are infrastructure behind that. So it gives visibility to all of that, and if one of them is not up, it would turn red. So in any of these icons, when it turns red, it means something is going on. So it's kind of good for our CIO, because when she goes to a meeting with one of her colleagues, she has some understanding that, are we doing well for them? Is there some issues that is going to come up in the meeting? So she has heads up, and she knows that what we are doing for them, and gives them an update. So going further down, I just want to disclaim that this is not our slide. We cannot put what is that we have. We just picked this up as from internet, but we have this similar thing. If you click on the icon that shows the different applications and system associated with the business unit, you would see the business service mapping in this format. And when something is one of the application or system is not working, you would see it red. So you know that something is going on there. So as you click on the red one, you would see further information. On this one, we just picked one of them, which is like virtual machines, the KPIs that we put for the virtual machines. So at this time, as I said, we started this implementation February of 2019, and we went to production on May of 2019, so it didn't take us that long. However, we just brought our infrastructure information, and one of the application, we did the KPIs for the application itself. We kind of divided our project to phases. So we had the phase 1 that we worked with our implementation solution partner, and we kind of took the responsibility ourselves. Our staff is, improving their skill set. This tool, when you implement it, you also need to think about the organizational cultural change. You cannot just make all the changes and expect everybody is on the same page as you are. So you have to keep that in mind, that give people time to get adjusted with the system, understand the benefit of it, and we go further and bring more data in. So we are working on phase 2 to bring application data, but at this time, our tool only look at the infrastructure information. And this is additional, if I go back on this slide, on the top, you would see that it says deep dive. So if you click on that, you would get this additional information, and they call these lines like a swim lanes, and you can go on, as you move your cursor, you can go on each different time, for example, on this one as 9 a.m., maybe 9:30 a.m., you would see exactly those KPIs, what were their scoring on them. And you can pinpoint to the exact problem based on that. And imagine when we have our application information in there as well, we are planning to have everything in one place. So that way, all of our admins would have the same visibility. So we are not going to wait anymore for a user call us and say, hey, this system is not working. We have visibility to what's going on here. And our team also, usually the old way of things working, the user has to call the service desk. Service desk has to decide that who they assign to this, which group should troubleshoot this, and then, it takes time. It takes time to resolve the issue. So when they have visibility in one place, the right person gets assigned to do the work. And also, this part is also because of the automation that we did from connecting to our system. It would provide that information automatically as incident to them as well.
Okay. Some technical takeaways. Point is actually very broad conceptually, because if you look at kind of the classic, ITSI demo, there's usually a fairly manageable number of just, like a few services, and you go in and you click a few times and you set up KPIs on the entities, which is all great. But the world is very different when you're in a enterprise that has thousands, and you really need to take a very different approach for two reasons, one of which is performance, right? You can't searches for every little thing on every little service, or you're going to tip over ITSI from a performance perspective. And the other aspect of it is you'll have death by 1,000 clicks, because you're going to have to go click, 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 going in to modify every little thing on every service. So standards are huge. There's something called service templates, which are very much your friend, especially at scale. You need to be thinking in terms of repeatable design patterns that are applicable across all chunk of your services, certain tiers or subsections of your services based on actually augmented the CMDB integration. Of a new service with its attendant service standard of monitoring that we're about to look for, which of structured. The CMDB data model we spoke about. Not really going to that. That you can me afterwards. For point number 3, in your correlation searches, for those of you who aren't using ITSI, it's how you search through raw data in order to generate what's called notable through policies based on common information in them. It's very easy to just go to town as soon as you start and write a whole bunch of correlation searches and have an aggregation for this, policy for that, and aggregation for that. And before you know it, you can very easily find yourself in a situation where you find something out. So as much as possible, standardize your correlation searches to instead of attributes, so that they're normalized and their output is all going to look the same. And then your aggregation policies, you literally can get away with one. Maybe you have a couple more for specialized scenarios. But the idea is that since your correlation searches are now normalized with a standard expected set of attributes that you're using for grouping and things like that, that you should be able to apply a single aggregation policy to all of them and have very good success with that. Finally, as much as possible, in terms of how you're, try to leverage lookup tables to data drive the definition of what your of what you're monitoring. So that can include log information, it can include KPIs on particular processes, and things like that. There's a very powerful concept in ITSI that's not really documented very much called pseudo entities, where basically you can use dynamically generate a whole bunch of they behave just like entities that exist under service. Go and create them as entities, and you can get a ton of mileage by combining that concept with a standardized design pattern. So highly recommend looking at approaches like that as well. So I'm going to hand it back to Shala. You're picking it up?
Mike. So what's next for us is, as I said, that we want to expand to our applications, to bring the data for our application as well, and we want to use more of the intelligence capability that the tool provides us and some automation. And of course, the predictive analytics is going to be the next things that we want to do. And after seeing the demos today for all of this beautiful dashboard that we can create, we want to make our dashboards more interesting as well. For example, if you have wireless issue in a specific terminal, I see the good way that we can, have a map that we can kind of show on that specific map which area has this issue. So we like to take advantage of those things as well. And as I mentioned, we were looking for a tool that we can bring, all of our data in one place. So our future journey is to bring more data that related to our customer and business and bring it in the tool as well. So the benefits of the tool, as we mentioned previously, being more reactive rather than being more proactive rather than reactive, and resolve the issues faster. And do automation to be able to create the incidents and automatically and improve the operational efficiencies. And of course, provide the better visibility for our executives to see what's the health of our operation is, and they can make a better decision how they do fundings on different area based on the information. So actually, before I go to questions, I like to shout out for my great team. Nobody can do things individually in the organization, so we always work in the teams, and our teams is about efficiency, innovation, and collaboration with everybody. So I only have 3 people with my group, and Esteban, can you stand up? So Esteban is our engineer that head engineer that works with our Splunk and ITSM tool, and Roy, can you stand up? So Roy is more specialized on our ITSM tool, and we have Nadav Pil as one of our people that is back in office and running the show. So, and at the same time, we cannot do things without collaboration, so we are very appreciative of Kelsey and her team, Jean and Ernie, Joe, Bill, everybody to supporting us in this process. And when I mentioned about our CMDB, they had not completed the work for, or the change, I'm sorry, when we were working on our change, they didn't completed the integration for the change, but they worked with us for beta testing and improving and giving us that capability so we don't write our own code and we have to replace it. So we appreciate that. And also our solution implementation, Sobu and Mike and the entire team, we were very grateful. We had very good experience with bringing things on time and finishing our project on time. Questions? Anybody have?
I'll just quickly say I had a team behind me as well, some of whom are here, so thank you.
So does anyone have questions? Okay, we'll start here. question is how for ITSI?
Not doing predictive modeling yet. We're at the first iteration of this where we had a whole bunch of sources to get ingested and get up with context and thresholding, but that's as we identify, I would say, features for that, that's actually the next step. So not yet.
There was another question? Yes.
Yes. We're doing that with a REST API. Oh, sure. The question is, we're automatically generating maintenance windows in ITSI based on approved changes in ServiceNow, and the question is, how are we doing that? And the answer is we're using the ITSI REST API, and we're just making a call into that from ServiceNow when a change is approved. So, yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
So, yeah, the question is in how granular we go as far as monitoring applications, monitoring services. Right now where we're at is we have application context brought in from the CMDB, and that only goes to the logical application layer in terms of, you know, what's been associated to servers in the CMDB. Associated with that, we have infrastructure monitoring, which in some cases includes infrastructure processes of interest, but they're not directly applicable to the themselves. When it comes to the individual application monitoring, we're just at the baby steps level of that right now. But I guess I can say in our first scenario, we've taken the approach so far of putting all the KPIs at one layer, at least of the service. We may have conceptually different layers represented in terms of the particular KPIs, but the thought process is don't expand your hierarchy until kind of the volume or the complexity warrants it. Otherwise, you're increasing the number of steps and clicks people have to go to see things.
I think that we are at our time, but if there's any additional questions, here we appreciate your time. Thanks.